but the corolla has a lower tube, and then it has 5 lobes. I think they're 5. And those 5 lobes are not exactly equal. Eventually, they're kind of in a 3-2 pattern, but this is almost actinomorphic. But it's kind of enough to get us to order, but there's not really good family characteristics. You have to kind of learn the genus. Does anybody know that genus?
I do.
Yeah.
One of the few I remember.
Buchnera. Buchnera. And I don't know the common name for Buchnera.
Oh, Buchnera americana?
Yeah. Well, it's this.
Those are very large flowers for
This
Buchnera
is
americana.
exactly. This Buchnera is nameless.
Okay, nameless.
This Buchnera
Yeah,
needs
what's
a
going
name.
on in that? Because sometimes the flowers are tiny.
The short purple ones are Buchnera floridana. Buchnera americana barely makes it down to the panhandle, and then this one is left without a name. Small called it Buchnera elongata in Small's 1933 flora, but Buchnera elongata has linear leaves, and it's a Caribbean species with linear leaves. It doesn't match the leaves of this plant.
So nobody's worked on it?
Actually, we're doing DNA. We want to look at it closer to see what genus that would be, or what group that would be.
Cyrus.
Cyrus. The yellow-eyed grasses. This is a Cyrus. Cyrus caroliniana in this habitat, in this tall.
How can you tell? There's so many Cyruses.
This height in this community, it's enough. But if I look hard enough, I'll find the leaves. So, and the leaves will really tell me. Okay, here we go.
There's nothing else like that.
The base of the plant is shiny and dark brown. That distinguishes it from our other irises. This bulbous, shiny, dark brown base. And what's really weird, the ground level is where my fingers were. The junction between the leaves and the roots is right here. So the leaves emerge from about 4 to 6 centimeters below the surface. So it never has its growing point of this plant never is above ground. It buries itself. I mean, well, it's obviously above ground when it germinates. It's at ground level when it germinates. As the plant grows, it buries itself deeper into the substrate. And that's not unheard of. Some plants do that. Some plants will actually contractile down.
I've just never heard of that.
Never heard of that. And it's an adaptation, of course, because the next time the area gets burned, it doesn't get its growing point burned at all. It will have the new leaves pop back up within weeks, within days. Above ground is hypoxis, the yellow stargrass. Its growing point is below the surface. Its perenniating organs are all below the surface. Where it emerges new leaves is below the surface. Polyglossitaceae does it. The polyglossitaceae, the tiny.
Okay.
Those are actually the fruit, one-seeded fruits.
Oh.
And each one has got a little beak at the top and little bristles around the bottom of it. And actually, they will show up on a pretty good sharp photo.
Catherine, that sounds right.
So that's beak rush?
Beak rush.
Oh.
Yep. Yep.
Ah, no, I never knew why it was called that.
It has a beak at the top of each fruit. They call it beak rush.
What about this one?
Oh, that thing. Credit for it. It's an orchid.
Do you want to dig it up? That's an orchid?
That's an orchid.
Look at the long capsule.
Long capsules. Oh, it's producing seeds. Oh, my goodness. It is seeding. That is reproducing.
Yep.
And there's the lip of the orchid flower. And then you have these lateral, I can never remember which are the lateral petals and the sepals. Sometimes you have to look in detail to figure out the flower structure.
Tepals, we call them. When we can't tell, we call them tepals.
Yeah, there actually are 6. It is 6 floral parts here.
So
It's
where is
just
it
they're in
from?
3 different.
Asia?
It's from Asia. You can see there's 6 flower parts. It's just that there's 3 different shapes to them.
How come you're going to dig it up?
This is invasive.
Where are the names?
and it's a new invasive to the area. So as far as I know,
Look at this volume.
it's bulbous, yeah. It's called Chinese ground orchid or Chinese something. Chinese ground orchid. Up for a short walk or a moderate walk through some scrub islands and scrubby flatwoods islands near here.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Okay.
What's this thing?
Gallberry holly.
Oh, that's gallberry.
Yeah.
Where's its little bumps on its leaves?
They're really small. But see, it's
Usually they're very obvious.
they're there. They're only like 2 or 3 on each side, or one on each side.
It's just the tips
There
of.
might be
Yeah.
just one on each side.
And what plant is that?
Well, the flower is the gallberry holly, Ilex glabra, and then in fruit we have Vaccinium fuscatum, the high bush blueberry.
Okay.